Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the latest convulsions from within the DUP as several members make statement which suggests that they are slowly realising, if indeed they haven't already realised, that taking up their seats in Stormont is the only way they're going to achieve anything at all. Indeed, some are convinced that the executive will reform later this year and that the DUP are just looking for a nice handy ladder to climb down. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, Brexit tying the DUP in knots again. They campaigned for it. They propped up the Conservative government that built it. But now they are refusing to engage with the realities of it. Ian Paisley Jr. essentially saying, I supported Brexit, I just don't support what Brexit is. Naomi Long of the Alliance Party was involved in a discussion as part of the Good Friday Agreement Silver Jubilee earlier this week. She expressed sympathy for unionists who had issues with what Brexit had delivered, but she made two absolutely killer points. The first was to point out that in no other part of the world, when there's a tricky problem to deal with, do they shut the government down. In reality, it's probably not quite true. The United States effectively do that from time to time. Whenever one party has the White House and the other has Congress, budgets are sometimes held to ransom by way of partisan sparring. But it is essentially the case generally that the business of government continues in some fashion, even when there's like a major issue to deal with. The second point was really a question. She asked what on earth they expected to happen with Brexit. Well, she was just being sarcastic because we know the answer to that. You know, I've said from time to time, the DUP must have expected Brexit to place the hard border back inside Ireland. It's the only thing which makes any logical sense. Some people would say to me, no, you're thinking about it too much. You know, they just didn't think it through. You know, they mistrusted the EU as some sort of papal conspiracy group and wanted to leave for that reason alone. They hadn't really thought much beyond it. But then last year, cat out the bag, Jim Wells, who I think seems to be in the TUV now, but he was in the DUP at the time of the Brexit referendum and through the entire Brexit process, was speaking about this. He was told, look, you know, you must have known there'd have to be a border somewhere. If you're going to diverge from the EU, where's that border going to go? And Wells said, clear as day, yes, they were aware that there would have to be a border, but that border should have been between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. He was asked if he really thought that was going to happen. And he said he thought it was feasible and thought that it should have been done. Absolutely insane, but there you are. I've not seen any sign of existing DUP politicians coming out to disown those comments. I didn't see anyone coming out going, no, we weren't thinking that at all. Jim's just off his rocker a little bit. You know, this was a year ago, plenty of time. Because this is really a truly incendiary comment. And if he were talking out of turn, surely it would have been shut down so hard that I'd have felt it all the way over here in Britain. But you would think if this is what they expected, surely in the here and now, they have to agree that their plan A is finished. It's not happening. We have seen members of the DUP, including Ian Paisley Jr., one of the more hardcore members, taking part in Good Friday Agreement celebrations. You know, people have pointed this out. They've criticised it. They've said, why on earth are they in these photo shoots? Because they opposed the agreement at the time. I actually support their inclusion. It's a visual sign that they accept the Good Friday Agreement. They're there, taking part in it, posing for photographs amongst people who actually delivered it. That, to me, is subtly saying, we accept, even if they don't support it, we accept the Good Friday Agreement. You know, Paisley's been saying that he thinks the only way to get things done is probably going to be through the institutions in Northern Ireland, which is a verbal sign that he realises that he can achieve nothing by a continued boycott of Stormont. But the cooler heads in the DUP must surely be trying to work out a plan B for their aims and explaining the realities to their more hot-headed colleagues. You know, this isn't going to be... There's not going to be a hard border inside Ireland. Outside of groups like the DUP and TUV, nobody wants it. Over half of Northern Ireland don't want it. I think quite a lot more than over half of Northern Ireland don't want it. Not even the Tories in Britain want it. Ireland, the wider EU and the USA certainly don't want it. It's not happening. So what is happening? Doug Beattie of the UUP reckons that power sharing will start up again this autumn. He said he's got no inside knowledge. He just thinks logically it has to happen. He thinks that it won't happen now because you've got the local elections coming up and then you've got the marching season. And he's probably right. Not a good time to risk losing face when you've got to be in everyone else's face. So autumn could well be the time. So what has to happen to facilitate this? Well, the DUP can't just rock up and take their places because they'll look like right nanas. They've got to have something which justifies their refusal to have taken their seats up until the point at which they do. Something has to have changed. The talk is of them wanting further legal assurances from the Westminster government. So I'm guessing there will now be discussions as to what form that can realistically represent. I mean, we know the Tories will give you whatever assurances you like. Boris Johnson was more than happy to assure people in Northern Ireland as well as Britain that there'll be no border in the Irish Sea, even when he had a document agreed that said there would be. So they'll have no problems getting assurances from the Conservatives. It's a case of whether they can claim that it is an assurance. You know, because Jeffrey Donaldson, what he wants to do basically is to go to Belfast in a couple of months and say, I have in my hand a piece of paper from Mr. Sunak, and then all head back to Stormont. Perhaps finally realising that the only way to make Northern Ireland work is to have a government. Not that that nonsense will be behind us at that point. There are still hardliners, and by that I mean people even more hardline than the DUP. They won't be happy. They will turn very bright shade of red. But within the DUP, there must surely now be an acceptance of the following facts. First, they're not getting their hard border inside Ireland. Second, Brexit has actually happened. There is no way to reverse it. And because they supported the general concept, they can't even say they want to reverse it. So they're going to have to come up with an alternative way to work with it. Third, the Conservative Party have made it clear that they have settled Brexit in Northern Ireland and want to go back to pretending that it doesn't exist. They do not even have the support of most of the ERG at this point. So the Conservative Party is like, there's no point in trying to get them to do anything now. Fourth, if they wait for Labour to form a government, that's even worse for them. Labour will want to work with them, of course, but they won't be smoothing their troubled brows if they start talking crap. Fifth, Sinn Féin are relatively quiet and at peace at the moment because the DUP are doing all their campaigning for them. You know, as so many have tried to make the point, the position of Sinn Féin and other nationalists is Northern Ireland doesn't work. Doesn't work. That is their argument. The argument of unionists is that it does work. Is it working right now? No, of course not. The government's collapsed. That is pretty much page one of how do you tell if your state is broken? The government has collapsed. Okay, so did nationalists collapse it? No, not this time. It was unionists. All right. How does that help their cause exactly? You tell me. What is perhaps happening here behind closed doors is that this clearly self-defeating position has now been explained, possibly with the use of very colourful charts, to their more stubborn colleagues. So the DUP are now saying they want further legal assurances. The Conservative government will come up with something that fits the bill, you know, and then Jeffrey Donaldson stands in Belfast with his piece of paper and off they go. And then we wait for the next time either DUP or Sinn Féin throw their toys out the pram. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships, and until next time, I'll see you later.